All right, guys, welcome in. It's Brad with College Sportscast. I've got a special guest with us tonight, and we are here to do championship week. College football, the playoffs are will be announced this Sunday. All right, guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College Sportscast. I have a very special guest with us here tonight. He is from the Athletic. His name is Daniel Shirley. What's up, Daniel?
Hey man, good to be here. Thanks for having me on. Can't wait to get into it and talk about all this college football this weekend.
Yeah, it's a big week. This is a first time for 12 teams in the college football playoff. So it's kind of an exciting time, right?
Yeah, it is. It really is. I mean, I know a lot of people weren't excited about the 12 team or wondered what the 12 team would do to the season, the regular season. I think it's only made the regular season better. I think what we saw last week was outstanding, and what we're going to see tomorrow is going to be outstanding. I mean, we already have 2 games on right now, or actually 3 games, 3 games on. I forgot about Jacksonville State and Western Kentucky, but there's 3 games tonight, a whole
Right.
schedule tomorrow of just great action.
Yeah, and it's pretty exciting. I think now, there's still some talk should they expand and all this still. I love the 12 teams. I really don't think you should really go beyond 12. I know there's some talk of that of 14, 16. You know, what do you think about the 12? Do you like the 12?
I do. I think we should at least see what it is first, right? I mean, there's going to be
Yeah,
something about the 12 we
right.
don't like because there's always going to be something that needs to be tweaked or kind of finagled a little bit, and that's always going to be the case. And so let's see what the 12 is first before we start jumping to 14 or 16. I do like, a lot of people
Right.
again don't like the 12, but it's still less than 10% of the teams in the country are going to make the playoff. I think that's a really good number. And then let's see what it is before we start
Yeah.
jumping to 14 or 16.
Right. All right. So before we get started here, I do this every show. If you're with us on Facebook, we appreciate you being with us. You can help support us by sending stars. Sending stars helps us to earn a little money to continue to make content for you guys. Or you can now subscribe to our College Sportscast page. That does give you a subscribers page. It's only 99 cents a month. And we appreciate you guys being with us on Facebook, YouTube. Like, share, tell others we appreciate you being with us as well. All right. It looks like Hammonds is here, so I'm going to get Hammonds on. What's up, Hammonds? You're muted.
Oh, my bad.
See, you're not
How's
even
it go?
with us.
How's it going, guys? A lot's going on here, man. We're trying
It's
to decorate.
good.
We're decorating for Christmas. There's a lot going on.
Oh, all right. All right. Decorating for Christmas, huh? It is that time of year. So
It
we've
is.
got Daniel Shirley. I did introduce him, but I do want to give you, Daniel, a chance here. I know you're doing some different stuff now. You was on with us one time before, but I know you're kind of doing some different stuff. So I want to give you the opportunity here before we get started to kind of tell what you're currently doing.
Yeah, I'm a college editor at the Athletic. That's the one that pays the bills. They pay the salary, but yeah, we do a little bit of
Right.
we do all college football, we do all college sports now, not just football. We do college basketball, we do baseball, really softball, everything really. And then I do some stuff on the side for fun. I've got a radio show here in Central Georgia that I do with a friend of mine here, and then I've got a Clemson podcast that I do with a couple other Clemson people. well, 3 other Clemson people that now we're going to be doing. So I get bored when I sit around and don't have anything to do. So and my wife likes me to stay busy and stay out of her hair. So
Right.
that's kind of the main thing is the athletic pays all the
Right.
bills, and then the other stuff is for fun.
Yeah, so I know you're the senior editor at the Athletic, and you do football and basketball, kind of the main things I think that you do.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you being here with us at College Sportscast. This is the second time that you've been on with me. You was on one
Right.
other time. I don't know, maybe it's either 1 or 2 years ago. I can't remember exactly. But I just appreciate you being on. And now we'll kind of get into it. Like Daniel said, there's 3 games going on currently, and we are going to begin talking about some of those and just give you a quick little update on those games. We can't do picks on games that's already started, so we're just going to do a quick little update on these games. Western Kentucky is playing Jacksonville State. This is the Conference USA championship game. It was halftime. Has the second half started in this game? Jacksonville State was ahead 28-6 at halftime.
Yeah, I don't know if the second half has started there or not yet.
I'm trying to
or
get it
not.
up.
I've got the other 2 games on the TVs here. So
It has. It just started. Nobody scored. It's 28-6. Jacksonville State is ahead in this game, and Western just beat them last week to get to the championship game, kicked a field goal late and beat them 19-17, and now they're behind 28-6, Daniel.
And it was a long field goal,
you just
too.
never know, right?
It was more than 50-yard field goal, right?
Yeah.
So you just don't know.
Right.
And it'll be fun to see who wins this, who pulls this one out.
Yeah, I'm close. I live about 20 minutes from Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is where Western Kentucky is. So it's kind of one of those teams that I pull for on the side just because I live close by. So that's I just want to throw that out there that I'm kind of a Western Kentucky fan. You know what I mean?
Nothing wrong with that.
All right, the next one we're going to talk. Yeah. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about, this one kind of surprises me. Hammond's Army's ahead 14-0 in the second quarter with 3 minutes to go.
That's kind of surprising, to be honest. John Summerall's had a really good year this year. Tulane's done some really good things. Army's been a surprise as well this year. So it don't surprise me one bit that Army's winning this game at all either. They had that little muck up with Notre Dame a couple of weeks ago, but overall,
outside of that,
they've had a pretty good year. Yeah.
Yeah, but Daniel, John Summerall's in his first year at Tulane. He's got them 10-2. They're in the AAC championship game here. Army was a big surprise. So Army's 11-1, Tulane's 10-2. I still think 14-0 is a little bit surprising.
Yeah, because Tulane's had a great year, and I mean, if it wasn't for their loss last week, this game would be at Tulane instead of at Army. So, it's a tough matchup, you think, for Tulane. I mean, for Army, because Tulane is so athletic and so fast and so quick on the outside. But early on, Army's ground game is really kind of taking control here. So, we'll see if Tulane can bounce back. But yeah, Army just scored again and up 14-0. Now Tulane's got the ball deep in their own territory and hasn't done much on offense at all. So almost to halftime at that game, and Tulane barely has 100 yards of offense.
Right, and 0 points.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. All right, so then we're going to get to kind of the big game of the night for Friday night here. You got UNLV and Boise State. This is the Mountain West Conference Championship game. And both of these teams are ranked in the college football playoff, Daniel. You got number 20 UNLV, number 10 Boise State. in the college football playoff rankings, the winner of this game is likely making the college football playoff. No matter
Oh,
who
I
it
think
is.
I think they're in, right? I think Boise State is
Yeah.
getting a bye if it wins. And I think
Right.
UNLV would sneak into the back end of the playoff if it wins. I'm a little distracted because my son's on the sideline for UNLV at this game. He's on the Boise sideline, but he's got on the UNLV gear. He's a grad
Right.
assistant for UNLV, but it's been a rough start for UNLV. Boise looks like a really strong team tonight, and they're taking advantage of being at home. So, for me, hopefully UNLV can bounce back and get back in it. But look, Boise's got one of the best players in the country in Ashton Genty, and I know people are going to overlook them, and it's just the Mountain West and all that. If they're 12-1 and their only loss is at Oregon on a late
by
field
3.
goal, right, early in the season,
by 3,
right. So they're going to be one of the top 4 seeds coming up in the playoff if they win this game tonight.
Oh, I agree with you. Hammonds, I want to ask you about Barry Odom specifically at UNLV. Second year there, just turned around a program that was at the bottom. At the bottom of college football. the FCS.
You got to look at his time where he was at Missouri, what he did at Missouri for that long period of time. And then, he went from there to Arkansas and he was a really good defensive guy there. And then he came to UNLV and done some really good things with them. And he's got their defense playing really, really well. They're struggling a little bit tonight with you. But who wouldn't against Ashton Genty? Every team that's faced him this year has went through a cycle of rushing yards, breaking rushing yards every single night and whatnot. But what he's doing though is outstanding. I like Barry Odom. I think he's a really good coach. I look at his time when he was at Missouri. I think they what was it, Daniel? They went to, was it 3 SEC championships, maybe 2?
Well, he was on the staff then. He wasn't the head coach.
Oh, he was on the staff. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Gary Pinkel
was
the head coach. So.
That's right. He was defensive coordinator. I was trying to think, but still, he was a part of that team and whatnot, and what he's done defensively over the years. I love the way he runs defense. I think he's one of the best defensive assistants in the country. But I love what he's doing at UNLV.
Honestly, guys, if UNLV was to somehow come back and win this game, I think they get the 12 slot, the 12 seed in the college football playoff. More than likely.
Yeah, no doubt. But they'll be in. That's all that matters, right?
And for that, absolutely. And for that to happen with UNLV football because of what Barry Odom's done is simply amazing in 2 years.
And also don't forget their quarterback left after the third game. Right. Yeah. And they had to change quarterbacks. And
this is true.
Their 2 losses, they easily could have beaten Syracuse, could have won that game. And they could have beaten Boise State the first time and just couldn't quite get it done.
That was at UNLV, wasn't it?
Right. A couple of late penalties that really hurt them, and they weren't able to pull it out. So, they're right there. They are really close, and he's done a great job. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to move on, and we're going to get to some picks. These are the Saturday games in college football, championship games. The first one we're going to get to, Hammonds, we got Iowa State versus Arizona State. This is the Big 12 championship, and Arizona State is a 1-point favorite on DraftKings.
A lot of trends in this game are kind of leaning towards the Sun Devils. They've won 5 straight games. Iowa State has struggled a little bit. The Cyclones are want to try to attack the Sun Devils through the air. But this game can be either way, to be honest, because you got an Iowa State team that's kind of they've had a couple of games where they haven't looked real great, and then they look really good. But you got a more consistent team in Arizona State that has, been playing a lot better. Skateboard, the running back, has been really good. They got a pretty good defense. Coach Willingham might be the most underrated coach in all of college football. He's
First season.
He's good. I just don't think Iowa State wins this game. I think where it's going to be a tight game. It's going to come down to field goals, I think. I think Arizona State's rushing attack will make the difference in this game.
All right, Daniel, what do you think about the Big 12 championship game here?
Yeah, I like both of these teams. I'm a huge fan of Matt Campbell. Like, I think if Matt Campbell went to not a blue blood maybe, but a bigger program, I think he'd do a heck of a job there. But I agree with Hammond. I like Arizona State in this game. They've played so well down the stretch. They were picked last in the conference, and here they are playing in the championship game.
They were.
What a great year that they've had.
Yeah.
And I think they'll win this game, and then we'll have if Boise State wins, we'll have kind of a debate about who should be the fourth bye in the playoff. But I think Arizona State's going to be a deserving champion.
By the way, Daniel, you can call me John. He just calls me Hammond all the time.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
sounds good.
I do. It's habit. It's habit.
It's a habit. It's a habit.
I wanted to ask you before we go off of the Big 12 championship game here. I do want to ask you guys, ask Daniel specifically, I guess. Is there a path that the Big 12 gets the 4 seed? I mean, Boise State losing, SMU losing.
Boise State losing. If UNLV wins, then I think, and SMU wins, right? I think that the Big 12 gets the fourth spot, right? If Clemson wins and Boise wins, I think the Big 12 will get the 4th spot. I went to Clemson, full disclosure, but if they win, they don't really deserve one of the top 4 spots unless UNLV wins somehow. That's just kind of how I look at it.
Right.
They've got 3 losses. The 3 best teams they've played, they lost to. So I think that could kind of work out in the Big 12's favor. If Clemson wins or if UNLV wins, I think that they'll find a way to get the Big 12 into the top 4.
I say this real quick, Daniel, about Clemson. I've always liked Dabo. I think he's a great coach. But that loss against Pittsburgh, or the win against Pittsburgh, is kind of throwing me off because that's not a great Pittsburgh team.
No.
And that's probably their best win. And that's just not a great Pittsburgh team. Yeah. And I kind of agree. That's what me and Brad
we'll get to Clemson a little more here in a minute. Yeah, we got to pick that game too. So, all right, the next one. This is the MAC championship game. We got Ohio versus Miami, Ohio. So one of the Miami teams is in here. Had to throw that in there.
Yes.
All right, so this is
and one of the Ohio teams
MAC championship game.
Don't forget that, Brad. Right. One of the Ohio teams.
Yeah, and
too,
one of the Ohio. Yes, yeah. This is true. Yeah, which should have been the other one, you would think.
Right.
But Miami, Ohio here is a 2.5-point favorite, and this is the MAC championship. John, I'll call you John since I don't have the other John. All right, what do you think about? What do you think about this game?
I think I'm going to take Miami, Ohio. They beat Ohio early in the year. The game was not close, as the score indicated. It was. I think they jumped out to a 30-0 lead. Miami, Ohio has probably the 37th best ranked defense against the run, and I think that'll slow down Ohio's running game, which averages over 209 yards a carry. But I just think Miami, Ohio's defense makes the difference in this game. They held Ohio to 110 yards rushing the last time they played, and I think they do that again this time. And Miami, Ohio is a really, really good school. I mean, if you've never heard of Ben Roethlisberger, get acquainted because they're as little as the MAC is, they're still one of the top programs in that league, from top to bottom. And I think they take care of business again tomorrow.
Ohio, Daniel, Ohio's 9-3. Miami of Ohio's 8-4 in this game. Just to throw out the records, what do you think in this game?
I'm going to go the other way. I think Ohio gets some revenge. I like the team that loses the first game when they have rematches, and I just like the way Ohio's playing right now. I think John's right about what he said about Miami. They dominated that first game, really controlled it anyway. But I like Ohio. I like the way they finished the season, and I think they're going to get it. 2.5 if you want to call that an upset. And the team they lost to the first time, I think they'll get the upset tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Well, I'm sure they would love that. I mean, winning the conference here for them, being 10-3, that would be a spectacular season for Ohio. All right, this is one of the big games of the week, and of course, SEC here. We got Georgia and Texas rematch. This one will be in Atlanta, and John, Texas is a 3-point favorite despite the loss on October 19th.
I'm telling you, man, this is difficult to pick for me. Georgia dominated them the first time around, and since that time,
at Texas in Austin,
Georgia has not really looked that great. They struggled with Georgia Tech, which Georgia Tech is getting better. Coach Key is doing a really good job down there. But here's my thing with Texas. They haven't really played anybody. I mean, Daniel, if you call Vanderbilt again, Vanderbilt.
What's their best win?
What's their best win? Right?
Honestly, what's Texas' best win?
I just don't know how they're going to compete up against these college football playoff teams. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, they got the talent, SEC-wise level players, but they haven't really been tested except for Georgia. And I like Georgia in this game. I say that because it's going to be a road game for Texas. It's in Atlanta. Georgia's going to have the fans.
Close to where Daniel is. Daniel's not far.
Yeah, and I say this.
I think. Yeah.
Texas has been really good defensively all year long. They're really good in coverage. I think they're going to pick off a couple Carson Beck passes, but I still don't think they win this game. I think Georgia finds a way and they get into the college football playoff. I think they're in anyways, but that's just me.
Yeah, I find it it's hard for me to pick against Georgia in these kinds of games. I mean, they haven't lost many of these since Kirby's been the head coach, and especially against non-Alabama teams. Now they've struggled. He's still got the Alabama bugaboo on him, but other than that, they've won these games and they bullied Texas the first time. Up front, they dominated. The defense dominated.
At Austin,
At Austin, right. So I think Georgia's going to win. And will they be the number 2 seed, number 3 seed? We'll find out how that plays out. But I think Georgia wins this game, and I don't know that it's going to be that close, to be honest.
So if Georgia does win, and I agree with you guys, it is so hard to pick against Georgia in these games. Unless they're playing Bama.
This is the kind of game
I might pick Bama in this one, but
this is the kind of game that Kirby Smart loves.
Yep.
He dies for these kind of games.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
Motivation. Like, I'm not going against the Bulldogs tomorrow. I can just tell you. I mean, not in a game of this magnitude. I'm just not.
Clyde's with us. He says, give him the horns. So if Texas wins, they're clear. I think they're clearly the 2 seed if Texas wins.
If Texas wins and
That's the way
Oregon
I
wins, I
feel.
think you're right. If Texas wins and Oregon wins, you're right. I think if Texas wins and Penn State wins, I think
Yeah.
Texas is the number 1 seed.
I don't like that.
That might happen. You're right on that.
Not to be
Yeah.
like, I don't like that because Texas is really, I mean, they're good.
But it
I'm not
could
saying
happen.
they're not good, but they just haven't really played a team with a pulse except Georgia.
Right. I'm not saying
Like-
it's right. I'm just telling you
I
that's
know
what's going to happen.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
Yeah,
that. I just don't.
Yeah. So if Georgia wins, are they probably a 3 seed? Likely a 3 seed, do you think?
I
Or do
think
they
they're
get
the
a
2.
2 seed?
I think they'll get the 2 because you got to look at who they've beaten, man.
You
At
think
that
they'll be a
point,
2?
Yeah, I think so. I really do. And, I mean, because if Oregon wins, they'll be the one. Is SMU going to be the 2
Right.
or Boise State? I don't think so. So I think it would probably be Georgia number 2.
I doubt it. Yeah. Okay. So that means the SEC is likely to get a 2 no matter what happens, and maybe a 1 if Oregon was to get beat.
If Oregon gets beat, right. Now, if Georgia wins and Penn
All right.
State wins,
Right.
maybe
Yeah,
Penn
if Oregon
State's the
gets beat.
1. Yeah, we'll see. There's still a lot that, like every game tomorrow, all the big games tomorrow have some kind of an impact
Matters.
on what's going to happen Sunday.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. So the next one here, we got Marshall versus Louisiana. They are a 6-point favorite in this game. Louisiana is. John, Marshall comeback had a great, exciting way to get there last week. I don't know if you've seen this, late in this game, but they had an exciting game just to get here to this game to be in the conference championship game. Louisiana's 10-2. I don't think a lot of people recognize that they had such a good year, the Raging Cajuns down there. But who do you like in this game?
I like Marshall in this game. I know Charles Huff is leaving Marshall. Could that be a distraction? But I think in today's world, I think the team will be motivated to send him off on a high note, I think. For me, these two teams are evenly matched. And it's hard to really lay the points on one side or the other. But I think I'm going to go Marshall here. Now, that's not to say that Louisiana's not had a great year. They've had a really good year. In that conference, they've, Billy Napier ain't missed a beat since he left. I mean, they slided a coach in there, and they're continuing to do the things that they're doing. So, but I like Marshall tomorrow. I think Marshall's the better team, and I think they'll play big for Huff.
All right, this is the Sun Belt Championship. I failed to mention that a while ago.
Yeah.
All right, go. That's the reason why you're here. We like having that kind of the expert picks here for this and talk. So
expert. We'll do that. No, I like Louisiana for the. I like Louisiana for the reason John mentioned. He liked Marshall because Huff. It sounds like he's going to leave. I think that could be a distraction. And they're playing at Louisiana. I think that'll help Louisiana's case.
Right. Yeah. And the Raging Cajuns are 10-2. Marshall's 9-3. And Marshall kind of had to have a miracle ending last week just to get there.
Yeah.
It
was.
So I don't know if you guys caught that or not, but it was kind of a miracle ending just to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wild game.
All right.
I saw that one at the end of all the other stuff, right? Yeah.
It wasn't. Yeah. I didn't see it live. I just saw the replays of it. I will admit. Because I was watching other games last week, to be honest. But I did see it was a wild ending. That's for sure.
Yes.
All right. This one, Daniel is actually a Clemson graduate. Just in case everybody, just so I can pinpoint that so everybody knows, he is a Clemson graduate. He does a Clemson show. So I mean, he has some ties to the Clemson program and that kind of stuff. So just want to throw that out there for all of my fans and stuff here at College Sportscast, so that they know. But Clemson is taking on SMU tomorrow in the ACC championship game. SMU, of course, is up to number 8, I think, in the college football playoff, and they are a 2.5-point favorite, John, in this game. Clemson kind of backed their way in here. I feel like Clemson kind of backed their way in. Syracuse got the win to really put them in last week. So, what do you think of this game?
The biggest thing to me is Clemson's only played 2 games against ranked opponents. They went 1-1 in those games. They've dropped 2 of their past 5 games, which one of those victories was against the Citadel, and that's no disrespect for the Citadel. SMU is having a really great year. Their first season, SMU's got a good quarterback in Kevin Jennings. He's thrown for a lot of passing yards this year. The biggest concern I have is up front with Clemson's defense. It's not the greatest at the rushing attack, I don't think. Can you help me out here, Daniel? I mean, they've been giving up quite a bit, I think, on the ground.
They have all year, not just
SMU,
South Carolina. Yeah,
and SMU's really, really good in that department when they run the football. I think that Clemson will I think they'll throw some against this SMU defense. I think they'll give up some yards in the air. SMU will. Their pass defense is not great, but they have a really good rush defense that I think is ranked 4th in the country. I don't like to pick against Dabo in these kind of games because he motivates his guys for these type games. But from what I've seen all year, I just think SMU is the better team right now. And that's why I'm going to take Clemson to cover the 2.5. I'm not really going to pick because I think Clemson's going to give this a game. It's going to be a game. And I think it's going to be better than people think. And who would have thought early in the year that we'd have SMU in this position? Like, probably nobody.
Right.
Hey,
nobody.
I will say I had Clemson and Miami, but SMU was my sleeper pick from the very beginning at the preseason to make this game. So
that was yours.
I didn't have them there, but I did say SMU was my sleeper pick to get here to this game. I will say that. So first season, I thought Rhett Lashley's done awesome, if you ask me, in the ACC this year. Now, their schedule helped them a little bit, I feel like. They didn't play Clemson in the regular season. They didn't play Miami in the regular season. So I do feel like their schedule, even though we've talked a little bit about Clemson's schedule, I do think SMU's schedule helped them just a little bit as well. What do you think about that, Daniel?
Yeah, I think both of their schedules were favorable. Let's just put it that way. I mean, even you look at Clemson should have beaten Louisville. I mean, like, its toughest game in the conference was at home, and they played awful. And Louisville really kind of dominated that game start to finish. I think John's right. Clemson's rush defense is atrocious. I won't even say it's bad. It's awful. And they don't tackle well in space. And we saw that last week against South Carolina. That's why, look, if Clemson absolutely can win this game. But I think it will surprise me if SMU doesn't win this game. I don't trust Clemson's defense. I think they're going to have to make some changes, major changes on their defensive staff moving forward. So, we'll see how it plays out tomorrow. But I think there's a reason why SMU's favored. John's right. They're the better team right now. They've been the better team all year, really. The 3 good teams Clemson played this year, they lost to. And that they don't have much of a resume to get into the playoff other than winning the ACC. So,
but I'm going to tell you, if they win, I know this.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question about them, Daniel?
Sure.
Like,
Go
My
ahead.
question is this: their resume is kind of terrible. It baffles me that they are sitting at 17. What do you think about them sitting at 17? Is it simply because they're in the ACC championship game? Do
I
you
think
think
it's
that's what it
that.
is?
I think it might be part of it. I think it's also, the whole good losses garbage, right? Who they lost to. They scheduled
Yeah, yeah,
tougher teams. Now they play South Carolina every year, so that one's on the schedule every year. But I mean, they could have
right,
played.
yeah,
They could have
yeah.
played an a G5 program in the opener and won, right? And they played Georgia
I'm going to throw
on
a
it.
team out. I'm going to throw a team out that's right behind them.
Okay,
BYU. BYU is 10-2, got a better record. And if you look at the metrics of these two teams,
have a better win too.
BYU is head and shoulders. Yes,
Right.
they beat SMU. I mean, a top 18 in the
Yep.
college football playoff, and Clemson don't have top 25 win. You know what I
No.
mean? Like
Right. No.
their resume is so much better. And I don't really understand why Clemson is at 17 and BYU is at 18.
Clemson's resume is not good. I mean, it really. That's why it's not even being discussed to
Yeah,
having a spot unless it wins tomorrow night. That's the only way it can get in.
right.
I didn't. Hey
Yeah.
guys, I didn't even think if
Now,
they would have
with
won
that
last week,
said,
they would get in. Right? There were a lot of people saying if they won last week, they would get
yeah,
an
yeah.
at
And
large
then
bid.
they
I didn't.
lost and still get
Right.
in.
Right. I
Yeah,
didn't see them bid at large, even with a
yeah,
win last.
yeah. Right. Yeah. All right. So for me, guys, and Hammonds will tell you this, I've been riding SMU and the Mustangs all year long. Since preseason, I picked them as my sleeper. I've kind of been riding with the Mustangs all year long. I really like Rhett Lashley. Um, he's one of the coaches that I would look at if I was in a position to hire a coach. I really like what Rhett Lashley has done. I like SMU has lots of money and lots of donors, lots of NIL, and they just as a program themselves in Dallas, and I the job that Rhett Lashley has done in mixed of all of that within the NIL and the money and the boosters and all the stuff is in line with a top tier job. And I just really like what Rhett Lashley's done. So for me, I'm going to ride with the Mustangs in this game tomorrow. So just got to go with that. Now, Hammonds, I will say that Dabo really gets his teams ready for games like this. And this will not be a cakewalk for sure. Clemson will definitely be ready for a chance to make the college football playoff tomorrow. All right, Big Ten. This is kind of the big one. Number 1 versus number 3, Penn State, Oregon. Oregon is a 3.5 point favorite, John. And I know you're not a big Penn State fan, so
I'm not. I'm not. And I say that because we hear this story.
I know.
Every single year we hear they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and they get to the title game and they wipe out. I don't trust them.
Hey, it's the first time I can remember them getting to the title game.
I'm talking, but what I mean, like getting their wins and getting 8-9 games, and then they fall flat on their face is what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
I like Oregon in this game. They're playing for a lot. They're playing for a bye. Penn State is too, but I just think Oregon has a better offense than Penn State. Now, Penn State's got a pretty good defense. They could do some things, make some stops, but I think it's going to be really, really difficult. Oregon's going to look like track stars out there on the field, with their wideouts. They got some really good players. Evan Stewart, The Trey, can't think of his last name. It's on the back of my tongue. But thing about Coach Franklin, he's got this reputation of getting so close, and he just can't seem to get over that hump and knock it out. And that's why I'm going to put Oregon. I think they'll take the crown their first year in the Big Ten. And I think they'll cover this 3.5-point spread.
And by the way, you talk about first year in the Big Ten. Each one of the Power Four conferences have at least one team in them that is new in the conference this year. Every one of them.
I'll say this much, Brad.
All right, quick. Daniel, go ahead. Oregon and Penn State.
I was going to say this real quick. If Oregon gets a big lead on these guys, it could get really nasty because Oregon's got an offense that can score and quick. If Penn State can't sustain drives, this could be 28-0 before you blink. And now I've been wrong before.
I'm impressed by Dan Lanning, that's for sure.
I am. I think he's the next big thing in college football, Coach West.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dan Lanning.
Yeah, I'm impressed by him. Daniel, are you impressed by Dan? Yeah, are you impressed by Dan Lanning? Because I am.
I'm a huge fan of him because how physical they play.
Yeah.
Right, they play really physical up front. I love Dylan Gabriel. I have a Heisman vote. I haven't turned it in yet. I was kind of waiting to see what's going to happen tonight and tomorrow night. I don't know why Dylan Gabriel's not on more ballots. People talking about who could be the top vote getter because I think he should be in that mix.
Yeah.
Is he going to be the number one? I don't know, but I think he should be in the mix. John's absolutely right. This game could be 28-0. It started the second quarter really quick, and I think Oregon's going to win this game, and I really don't think it's going to be close. I just don't trust Penn State. I nothing against James Franklin and what he's done.
Yeah.
When I watch sports and I see things happen over and over and over again, I start to trust it. And when I see Penn State play in a huge game, they come up short, and
them not looking good. Yeah.
Right. You see, look, I'll be 54 this month. You see the sun come up every day for 54 years, you start to believe in it. Right?
Right. Yeah.
And I've seen Penn State get to this point and not get it done. And almost every time.
Too many times.
I got a quick question for you, Daniel. You're a Heisman voter, right?
Yes.
Okay.
For the last couple of years,
I kind of wanted to ask you while we're on this topic before we go to basketball, who do you think wins this thing? Because I'm seeing different people. I'm seeing Ashton Jeanty. I'm seeing Shadur Sanders. I'm going to be honest with you, Daniel. I think Travis Hunter wins it.
I think he probably will. I think you're right. We do a Heisman straw poll with the Athletic every week.
See, I'm an Ashton Jeanty. I'm an Ashton Jeanty guy.
Are you?
Oh, I am too.
And he's a great player, right? I think he wins it any other year, right? What Travis Hunter is doing with something we've never seen before. And so that, I've waffled on my pick back and forth for the last month. Yeah.
I would hate to be a Heisman voter. And I don't say that in bad regrets, but it's just difficult to pick a guy because that one guy's going to be good, and then you got another one over here that's really, really good, and then you hate to not pick that guy. It would be so hard and difficult to do. Like it's just
especially with these two guys. Absolutely, with Jeanty and Hunter, it's back and forth. It's like 50-50.
They're both deserving. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're not both deserving.
You know what I hope happens? You know what I really hope
unfortunately, they both can't win it. It's got to just be one.
You know what I'm actually hoping happens? I'm hoping one of them wins by one vote less than the other and see how close this race really was. Maybe something real down to the edge,
That'd be great.
All right, guys, I'm going to go with Oregon in this game too. I really feel like Oregon is probably head and shoulders the better team. I really like Dan Lanning and the way he motivates his players. and they love him. I mean, just absolutely love him. I mean, he as a coach, as a man, and I appreciate that. Now, before we move on to basketball, and we'll try to get through the basketball picks just kind of quickly here, but I wanted to ask you, if Clemson does beat SMU tomorrow, is SMU still in the playoff? Are they deserving? Do you think they're still in the playoff?
I think they will be. I think so. Because the committee kept saying the whole time they're not going to penalize
Does
the teams
that bump
in the championship
Bama?
game.
Are they in and Bama not?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine tell me, it's just so hard to. Can you even picture that in your mind that Bama's going to get bumped by SMU? It's hard to even believe that could happen, but I think it probably could.
By SMU. Yeah.
This year they do. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not real high on
Because
Bama.
I
know they've won a couple of games.
if Clemson wins and SMU gets in, that's the last spot. There is no more spots. There's only the one more spot left. So it definitely would bump Bama if they get in. And I honestly, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I think that is really the only way that Bama gets bumped.
Oh yeah, Clemson's a bid stealer, no doubt.
But I'm going to tell you, if Bama gets in over SMU,
you're
going to see a lot of tweets. I can just tell you right now, it could
happen.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you now.
I had a friend of mine. A friend of mine said he didn't think Bama should be in, right? And he said, if Bama gets in, this is a tragedy. And I said, well, then Clemson's America's team, because that's the only way Bama's not getting in.
Should.
If Clemson Clemson wins, I think Bama gets bumped.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I think they do.
Let me ask you one more question about this. So if Georgia loses tomorrow and they have 3 losses, Bama has 3 losses, Ole Miss has 3 losses. Bama and Ole Miss are 2 of the teams that beat Georgia. Is there a chance? Yes, that beat Georgia. Georgia will have 3 losses. They'll have 3 losses. Is there a chance that one of those teams slides in front of Georgia if they lose tomorrow?
I don't think so, because again, the committee said they're not going to penalize teams, but it also might depend on how they lose. Right. If Georgia gets beat by 40 tomorrow, then maybe the committee starts to look at them a little bit differently, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
The head-to-head has seemed to matter because I think that's what's holding Bama above South Carolina and Ole Miss is the head-to-head.
Right. No doubt. It's a lot of we're kind of getting into a circle.
That's the reason why I'm asking you.
Yeah. It's kind of a circle of who beat who, right? And get into that, but that's going to be that's going to be the interesting storyline Sunday morning. Is what they do with Bama, depending on what happens tomorrow. Right.
Yeah, it's
right.
I wouldn't want to be in that position. I can tell you.
Yeah, 100%.
You can knock me
off.
All
right, guys, and Daniel, appreciate you being here talking about the college football playoff stuff here with us. Talking about your Heisman vote. I mean, it's really cool to have you on to do that kind of stuff. We are going to switch up and go to basketball. We can kind of fly through these and just kind of give some picks and quick thoughts and that kind of stuff so we can finish watching the game. You got Boise and UNLV at halftime. Boise is up 21-0 before we go to this. Jacksonville State is killing Western Kentucky 38-12 at the end of the third. And Army is up 21-7 at halftime on Tulane in those championship games before we move on here. All right. Tomorrow, Saturday, we've got a pretty good top 11 matchup here. Wisconsin is 11. Marquette is 5. They're coming off of a loss to Iowa State. And Marquette is a 6.5-point favorite. John, I'll go to you first. Who do you like in this game?
I like Marquette in this game. I think they're a better shooting team. I think that will be what makes the difference in this game. Give me Marquette minus the points.
I agree. I love Marquette. I'm a huge Shaka Smart fan. And this Marquette team is a lot of fun. I know they got a loss, last week, but early in the week. But I love Marquette. I'm a big Marquette.
Well, I mean, when you go to Hilton Coliseum, it's like going to the jungle at Auburn.
They play defense.
I mean, it's
absolutely.
I tell people road games are hard. I don't care if it's Kentucky, Arkansas, wherever it is. When you go on the road, things are against you. The fans against you. You don't get certain calls. It's just there's a lot that has to go your way for you to pull out a road win. And we've seen some do it and some don't. But I always say road games are tough especially in the big conferences. Big East, SEC, ACC.
Yeah. This is going to be a good game. I like Marquette in this game as well. And then tomorrow night, late, you get the out west after dark. Really, this is like at 10 o'clock Eastern time, I think, the tip of this game, something like that. You get Kentucky versus Gonzaga. This is in Seattle. This is not at Gonzaga, but it is technically a neutral site, but it's almost a home crowd, I would think, out in Seattle out there. But Gonzaga is a 5.5-point favorite this evening. John, what do you think about this? Does Kentucky bounce back?
These are two of the biggest name brands in college basketball right now. Now the Butler injury is a bit of a concern for me going into this game. And I say that because when Butler's not in the game, Kentucky's offense kind of gets stale. The ball gets stuck. They can't get really open. And I think the Zags going to prepare for that. And if Butler does play, he's probably going to be limited a little bit. Pope's got a whole new system, transfers. Gonzaga plays really good defense. They're good against the three-point shot. And they play a lot of junk stuff, like junk defenses. So they're going to try to force Kentucky to shoot from the perimeter. And I don't think that's going to work if you're Kentucky because you want to shoot threes. I'm going to take Gonzaga in this game by the 4. It was 4.5. It's moved up to 5. But I don't know, Brad. I don't know. I want to pick Kentucky. My heart says Kentucky, but Butler limited. It's going to be a tough.
Me too.
It's going to be a tough game, man.
Yeah, Butler is
this
the key.
Gonzaga team is for real.
Yep.
They're a legit team. Yeah. Daniel, go ahead there.
Yeah, Butler's the key to the Kentucky offense. You can see it when he's on. It changes who they are. He's such a good player. It's just a tough spot for Kentucky. I mean, you played a tough game, Tuesday night at Clemson. I mean, that was a physical game.
Yeah.
The whole game. And they just weren't able to pull it out, right? And then you got to go all the way across the country to play at Gonzaga. I think Kentucky's going to be fine. I think they're going to win a lot of games. I think you're looking at an Elite Eight team. I just think this is a really difficult week to play on opposite sides of the country against. I think Clemson's probably a little bit underrated, right?
On the road,
and both of them on the road, right? Yeah. Exactly. So I think this will be. I think Kentucky covers. But I think Gonzaga finds a way to win it.
I'm going to say this, and I'll probably get slammed for this by North Carolina.
That's exactly what I was going to pick, Daniel.
I'll probably get slammed by North Carolina media here. But I think Clemson's the second best team in the ACC right now.
Might be. It might be. I mean, the ACC didn't look good.
Chase Hunter. I'm going to tell you something. Little John
the ACC looked terrible, by the way.
I'm going to say this. In Little John Coliseum, Little John Coliseum is an underrated place to play. I don't care what anybody says. That place is a tough environment to play in. I mean, it's not the biggest, but it's hard to play in that game when you're a top 5 team because,
I think it's about 9,000? Is that what it holds?
Yeah.
About 9,000, I think.
Yeah.
And the fans are right on.
Yeah.
And the students are right on top of it.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. 14-2 in the SEC ACC Challenge is an ass whooping. That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
I mean that's bad right there. I don't know if we'll ever see that again. 14-2. To be honest with you.
Those ACC powerhouses, Duke and Clemson.
I'm going to take Kentucky to cover.
Me too.
Yeah. I'm going to take Kentucky to cover in this. That means they got to lose by 6. I think Kentucky can stay in this game. So I'm going to take Kentucky to cover, but I do kind of think that the Zags probably win this game. It's going to be a tough one on the road for the Cats. All right. This is a Sunday game. UConn is at Texas. I think this is kind of an interesting game. Hammonds, the lines are not out yet, so these other games I don't have the lines. But this is at Texas.
UConn did not impress me against Baylor the other night either. And they're going on the road here. This is the Moody Center is a tough place to play. It's a very
Trey
big
Johnson.
Arena, and
remember the name.
And the fans get after you down there. Kansas has lost down there. There's been quite a few top 5 teams lose down there. And with the way this UConn team is constructed, they're going to take some lumps early December, January.
Is Caravan going to play?
No, I don't.
He didn't play the other night.
I have not heard on that. But I will say this. If they're going to go where they need to go, they're going to have to get solo ball going. They're going to have to get a few of those guys. Mahaney's going to have to get going. Samson Johnson's going to have to get going in the middle. This ain't the UConn team.
Mahaney rose from the ashes the other night.
He played pretty good, yes. But they still got a long way.
You had to see the press conference.
They still have a long way to go.
He was a phoenix. He rose from the ashes.
Yeah, phoenix. But I'm going to take UConn in this game. I don't think I really like this take, but Texas hasn't really played anybody yet. I don't know how they're going to respond against a team like UConn. So I think I'm going to take the safe bet and go with UConn here.
That's fair.
Yeah,
it's a fair take. All right. What do you think, Daniel? What do you?
It feels like UConn's got to get out of its own way at some point, right? I mean, and get things going. The way they played in Maui, and they played some good teams in Maui too, but they didn't play well. And
their coach,
right?
And their coach acting like an imbecile on the sideline,
right? So it just feels like at some point they're going to start playing well and playing like UConn, and maybe that starts on Sunday.
I like Dan Hurley. But here's the thing, Daniel. He shouldn't act like that on the sidelines. Like there's ways to be. There's limits that you have to go by, and he went by them at the Maui. Like he absolutely lost it down there.
Right. Well, and how do you tell your team to stay under control? Right. But how do you tell your team to stay under control when you're acting
I think
like
winning
that?
back-to-back titles. Yeah, I got for sure. I agree with you, but I think winning back-to-back titles kind of has him all like. I think he thinks it's kind of inherited right now or something. You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm at with this team. I think Texas has a chance to upset them here, and if you call that an upset at home, I don't know. Also on Sunday, these are Sunday games. Duke is at Louisville. This is an ACC game here, opening ACC game. So, what do you think about this one, Hammonds?
I don't like Louisville in this game, and I'll tell you why. Pryor being
An
out.
away game.
Pryor's hurt.
Losing him, yeah.
Losing him is
Their
going to be
center.
difficult. It's going to be difficult for Louisville. Now they're going to win some games. Scotty Hepburn is going to do some things with them because he's a one-man show at times, and he can go off for 30 at any time. But I just think they're going to have a hard time with Cooper Flagg.
But probably not against Duke.
And this good, solid Duke team. They just beat a good Auburn team at home. So I like Duke to win this game. Louisville's going through some transition right now with some injured players right now.
Yeah.
I like
Daniel, what do you think on this one?
I like the Kelsey hire for Louisville. I do a lot. I think that was a great hire.
Yeah.
But it's going to take him some time.
Actually.
Yeah, it's going to take some time. I just don't think they beat Duke on Sunday.
Yeah. Right. And I think that injury, the guy, 12 points, 6 rebounds in the middle,
Sean Pryor,
when you're trying to rebuild the program to start with, I think that's gonna matter. So to give me the Blue Devils here in this game, I think they're going to win. And then we got UCLA at Oregon. Oregon won that Player Heirs Championship. Very good tournament there in Vegas. Hammonds, they're still undefeated. UCLA, I think, is like 7-1. Pretty good start there for them. What do you think on this game?
Listen, I really like this Oregon team. Dana Altman does a really good job with these guys. He's always consistent, always has been. They got a guy named TJ Bamba. He came from Villanova. He's really, really good. They got Supreme Cook from Georgetown. Bartholomew, they got him from Colorado, transfer. This is a fun team to watch.
Supreme Cook.
Yeah, that's his name.
What a name.
I think, and then they got the big guy in the middle, Nate Biddle. He was a big reason why they beat Alabama the other night. So that was a really good Alabama team that Oregon beat. Alabama is a really good basketball team. And I like this Oregon team. I think Oregon's a really fun team to watch. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to pick Oregon this game. And I love their court. They're crazy wacko courts you have to look past.
Yeah.
I think it's wild to me, but I love
looks like the sun. Yeah.
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 Yep. But I got Oregon this game. I think
Daniel,
UCLA,
what do you think on this one?
I think they're going to get better as the year goes.
I think Dana Altman is one of the most underrated coaches in college basketball. And when Oregon hired him, they were like, "Oh, wait, who? Why did we hire Creighton's coach? Really? We need a big name." And then he's done a really good job at Oregon. So I'm a huge Dana Altman fan. I think they win on Sunday. Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be close, guys. I think this is going to be a double-digit win for Oregon on Sunday.
I mean, Cronin is not a bad coach.
Right. No, he's a good coach too. Yes.
But at UCLA, I mean, he's done a pretty good job. Now they had a down year last year, but they had like 9 freshmen on that team.
Right.
And I really haven't seen the UCLA team this year. So I don't know if they got some of those players back because they had a whole bunch of freshmen last year. And they are sitting at 7-1. But I agree with you guys. Oregon's looked like the real deal beginning of the season here. So I'm going to go with the Ducks in this game. And then I do have 3 women's games. I'm covering Kentucky women's basketball, and I do a little bit of women's coverage here. Champions Classic, they're calling this. In the women's, they got Louisville versus UConn on Saturday. Of course, I know UConn's won some champions. I'm not sure Louisville has. Has Louisville won a title?
I think so. No.
Not.
I know they got to the final game a couple of times and got beat by UConn.
Right.
They got beat by UConn in the final game a couple of times.
I like UConn. I like UConn this game. Louisville's going through some growing pains this year. I look for Paige Bucker. I call her Bucker instead of Bucher.
Again, they have a bunch of freshmen.
I call her Bucker because she's a
Bucher.
bucket.
Yeah.
She's a bucket. Paige Buckets. And
Yeah.
I think that
Absolutely.
they take care of business Sunday or Saturday against Louisville. Louisville's going through some stuff right now. They're having to revamp their whole roster and go. They're having a tough season this year a little bit.
They played tough against Oklahoma. They played tough against Oklahoma the other night in the ACC SEC challenge, but gave it up at the end at home. And now they get UConn. What's a rough week, Daniel? Right?
Yeah, who they do?
Yeah.
The coach did
That's a
something to
rough
somebody,
week,
right? Yeah, right. You can't pick against UConn,
Yeah.
right? You can't pick against UConn, so I'm going to go
Right.
with UConn.
I mean, no. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you guys. It's definitely UConn here. The next one's a little bit interesting. You got Tennessee and Iowa. Tennessee, of course, lots of championships in their history. Iowa, they've got a couple of runner-ups and stuff, but I'm not sure about the championships at Iowa. Again, kind of what I talked about with Louisville here. But Tennessee's got a new coach. Kim Caldwell seems to be doing a fantastic job in her first season there. And, of course, Iowa is coming off of the Caitlin Clark, stuff, and they got a really good team again there. So, John, what do you think on this game?
And they're getting Lucy Olson back, which is going to be a big –
Lucy Olson. They're
getting her back this week, hopefully. So that will be a big plus for Iowa. Tennessee gained a lot of momentum. They had those home wins. But the real test didn't start till Wednesday night when they had to face a really good Florida State team and they eked it out. I'm interested to see where Tennessee stands with Iowa.
They eked it out at the end.
I'm interested to see how which one of these teams can go at their pace. Both of them like to run wild in transition. Both of them like to run up and down the floor with guards. So it'll be interesting to see where this game goes.
Yep.
I do like Iowa in this game, though. I think having Lucy Olson back is going to be a big plus for Iowa.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's
Daniel,
such a big piece of it. Yeah. I think she's a big piece of it, and I think Iowa wins this game. I like what Tennessee's doing with the new staff. I do. That I think they made a really good hire. I like what they're doing, but this one is, I think, at Iowa, right? I think it's going to be a little bit too much for them to win this game.
I think it's in a classic.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I can't remember where it might.
It's a classic. It's at the but I don't know exactly where it's played.
Oh, it's at the Barclays. Sure. It's at the Barclays
Center. It is
Center
a Champions Classic.
It's at Barclays Center.
Okay.
All right.
But I still like Iowa in this game for sure.
I like Iowa still in this one.
I mean, I'm going to pick Iowa as well, but I'm going to tell you guys, Kim Caldwell's doing a fantastic job there and put together a team that plays fast-paced. She's recruiting great, got a top 5 recruiting class. She really seems to be off to a hot start after 8 games, to be honest with you. I have to give her due because she seems to be doing a great job. So
Marshall always seems to find these gems. Billy Donovan being one.
Yeah. Right.
There's always that real big gem that you.
All right. Find. Then Sunday. Yeah. I think Kim Caldwell's doing a great job. I mean, I have to give her that. I'm a Kentucky guy, but I mean, honestly, she's been doing a great job so far. Kenny Brooks has too. So for the women's side, so both programs I think knocked it out of the park. All right, so this is the last one we're going to talk about. This is Sunday. I thought this was a fun one. You got South Carolina and Dawn Staley and the 2-time defending champs going against TCU. John, TCU is up there in the top 10 for the first time ever with none other than Haley Van Lith.
Oh yeah,
who
and they got
at LSU kind of had a rival with Don Staley. You know,
yeah, and they got Sedona
so
Prince.
I thought it's a fun matchup here.
They got Sedona Prince, Madison Connor,
yep. 6'7".
Mark Campbell is doing a really good job with this team. They've been on a historic run early in the year. They've exceeded my expectations. They got wins over NC State, Notre Dame. Mark Campbell. This will be a game. This will be a game and a test for TCU to see where they move up among the nation's top. Their depth has been a big plus. They've overwhelmed a lot of their opponents. South Carolina, to me, has faced challenges.
Haley Van Lith would absolutely love to get this win, though. I mean, she's going to be with with Prince and stuff like she's going to be all out for this. This one's going to be a fun one Sunday.
Here's the thing on the other side. South Carolina really has faced some challenges at times against strong defensive teams. Their offense has sometimes leaned heavy on certain players. They've been stagnant on offense at times. Coach Staley calls it a sticky hands, where they fail to spread the floor. And South Carolina's going to take some lumps this year. I don't think this is your South Carolina team that was national champions a year ago. I think there's still some work to be had. Yeah. Undefeated. I think there's still some work to be done. But I'm still going to pick South Carolina in this game. But, man, what a win this would be for Haley Van Lith. Like, could you imagine her winning a game of this magnitude? TCU.
She's going all out. I'm telling you.
I'm telling you, man. This is a fun TCU team, by the way. You got to slow down Chloe Kitts to Hina Pow. Like, you got to make sure that they don't go off. Those are South Carolina's big.
Tessa Johnson, Malaysia Wiley, who had 32 the other night. I mean, South Carolina is loaded on the guards. I'm telling you.
Hey,
it's the inside game.
TCU's got one.
A little bit different.
TCU's got one in Madison Connor. She's a really good shooter. She might be one of the best shooters in the country. So,
but Sedona Prince might control this game on the inside.
Don't count out TCU really quick.
I mean, it's possible.
So,
yeah.
Daniel.
All right, Daniel. What do you think about this game? It's kind of.
I'm rattling.
That's all right. I just got distracted by UNLV finally doing something offensively. So sorry about that. Look, you can't pick. Can you pick against South Carolina against anybody? I don't think you can. Look, TCU's everything y'all said about TCU is right. They've had a great start to the year, but South Carolina is South Carolina. They're the gold standard right now in women's basketball, and you would think they would win this game.
I don't like that word, the gold standard, anymore. You know why I don't like that word?
They are, though. I mean, he's right about that for sure.
There's a little guy that went down to Hoggyville that was supposed to have this the gold standard, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
But no, I think South Carolina wins. I think South Carolina wins.
I like Calipari. I just think it was time for Kentucky.
Listen, I love South Carolina. I love Don Staley. There's one thing that I think is kind of missing with this team, and that's their normal inside presence. Yeah. This team is loaded with guards, and with Chloe Kitts and Watkins. They have a few really good 6'2", 6'3" forwards. They just don't have that 6'5", 6'7" presence in the middle like they normally have had in the past 6 years with her championship teams.
No doubt.
What TCU does have is Sedona Prince. And she's 6'7", 21 points and about 11 to 12 rebounds a game. And I think Haley Van Lith is going to try to feed her all night long. And deep down, she's going to give everything she has to try to beat them and knock them off. Now, do I think it happens? I'm going to go with you guys and say I think South Carolina wins. But I think I'm going to go with you because you're right. I mean, both of you are right. It is South Carolina's. They are the gold standard right now. But TCU's been fun, and they're going to be fun throughout the year.
I got a quick question for you, Daniel. Before we kind of log off and get off here, if you're getting into media, I know you've been with the Athletic for quite a while.
Yep.
What would you give advice to people that are trying to get into the write articles, do podcast? What would you give them advice? The main thing to focus on?
I would say there's two things. A, do as many different things as you can, right? Write, podcast, edit, shoot video, take pictures, whatever. Because the more things you can do, the more things you can offer to an employer, right? And then I would say just write as much as you can and read.
Till your hands fall off.
Yes, and read as much as you can and, make as many contacts as you can because that's a big piece of it as well. I think all of those things add up to it. I mean, that was the advice I got when I was getting into it, and it has worked out for me.
Who was the nicest head coach you've ever covered?
Nicest head coach? Which sport? Basketball or football? Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
college football, the nicest I covered. Wow. I mean, Bobby Lamb was the head coach at Mercer for a while, started the Mercer program, and he let me stand in the middle of the field and watch practice, right? And how many people get to do that these days? You don't even get access to practice most days.
It's very hard to get in anymore.
I would say the best learning experience I had was covering Valdosta State when I was right out of college, because on that staff was Hal Mumme, Mike Leach, Dana Holgerson.
I was going to say, was that the Hal Mumme years?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Right. And I was there right out of college.
Dana Holgerson was on that staff. I forgot Dana was on that staff.
Right. And I'm leaving out somebody. Oh, the former Baylor Kentucky coach. Oh,
Guy Morris.
Guy Morris was on that staff. So all of those coaches were on the same staff.
What about there was another one I was going to ask you about. What about Tony Franklin? Was he down there or no?
No, Tony Franklin. No, he wasn't there when I was there. Right. But I was around
there.
Mike Leach. I was around Mike Leach every day for 3 years.
He I say that to say this about Mike Leach. A lot of people didn't like his gimmicks, like, his, personality, but I did. I genuinely loved it because it was who he was.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
When they interviewed him about Halloween and candy, like, it was just like, even gave advice on marriage. He'd talk about, wedding cake and how the wife would do this and do that. He had all the advice, and it, he's very much missed in this day and age, and rest in peace to that man. He was a wonderful human being.
It was genuine. That's who he was. Right. And I remember one year I was at a Valdosta State women's game, basketball, and he came and sat down next to me at the press table and just started breaking down the two defenses of a women's basketball game. We're not talking about football. We're talking about basketball. And he's breaking down their defense. Game. Right. Yeah. So that's just who he was. He was great. And he's definitely missed. There's no doubt about that.
And he was so smart. I mean, super intelligent.
Yeah.
He was. He's very intelligent.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, super
I just kind of
intelligent,
wanted
to
to
be
ask that real
honest.
quick,
Yeah.
Daniel, because
All right,
a lot
so
of
quick
people,
update.
a lot of people are getting into that. I'm trying to get into that.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to get into that, and some days I get frustrated and flustered. But Brad always tells me, he says, John, you got to keep writing, got to keep learning new things, different ways to write.
Yep.
And he said, just to get better, because that's the only way you're going to learn.
Yeah,
Absolutely. 100%. That's the best thing to do, is to write and to read as much as you can.
Yep.
Yep. So quick update, Jacksonville State is absolutely killing Western Kentucky 52-12. Very late in the fourth quarter in that game.
That's tough.
Late third, 3 minutes to go. Boise's up 21-0 on UNLV. And Army is all over Tulane with about 3 minutes to go, 28-7 as well. So
is this a thing of
Army
things to come tomorrow?
could be in the second or third spot here. You know what I mean? Army could be. I mean, they're what, 23rd or 24th in the
24th.
college football playoff. So I mean, 24th.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see them being ahead of UNLV if they were to win, but I mean, they're right there. They're close. They're knocking on the door. That's for sure.
They're having
Army
a great
would
year.
be.
No doubt. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jeff Monken is a great coach.
Next week we'll get. Yeah, and next week we'll get to talk about Army and Navy, because that'll be the only game. Yep. Yep.
That's pretty good.
We'll definitely get to talk about Army and Navy next week.
The history behind it, at least.
Good segment, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Daniel, it's great to have you. I'd love to have you back again sometime. I mean, I feel like you're a great guest to have this time of year, kind of late. And, championship week here was a great time to have you on, I feel like. And we appreciate you coming on here at College Sportscast with us. Like I said, this is his second time being on with us. So I greatly appreciate you jumping on with us.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, just let me know. I'll be here.
He does basketball too, so he's all within basketball and football. So catch Daniel with The Athletic, and I think he is DM_Shirley. Is that what you're on
That's right.
X?
Yep, that's right.
I believe.
Yep.
All right. Well, this has been College Sportscast Game Day Pick'em. This is our championship week edition. This is week 15, season 3. And we will see you guys next week. Y'all have a good weekend. Enjoy some football and basketball.
Have a good night.